My name is Jess Servion, and I'm super excited to bring you my new podcast, The Juice with Jess. This podcast is going to be about everything in your customer's journey. We're talking acquisition, awareness, making that purchase, retaining that customer, bringing them back around, and everything in between. This is going to be all about delivering dope brand experiences and talking to some really amazing people who are in the customer experience space, the marketing space, and everything in between. Welcome back to another episode with The Juice with Jess Servion. I'm Jess Servion. I don't know why I just called out my name, but here we are. This week, I am joined by a very special guest and dear friend of mine, also mentor of mine, Eli Weiss. Eli, do you want to give the audience a little bit of background of who you are? What you do?
Well, first of all, thank you. I feel like this is a long time coming. We've been on the circuit, on the podcast circuit for a minute. We haven't done anything together, so this is fun. I did have you on the Down to Chat circuit, so that was fun. A little bit about me. I kind of just a kid from Jersey that went with his gut a whole bunch of times, and luckily kind of it's been working all right. If you told me 10 years ago I'd have any sort of meaningful job in any meaningful company, I'd think you're crazy. I somehow grew up in a small Orthodox world, number 2 of 10. Never graduated high school. Never went to college. Did my GED in my early 20s, and kind of started my career in D2C. First at a Kickstarter brand, which we can get into more details, and then subsequently at brands like Olipop and Jones Road, and now I've switched onto the dark side, and I switched to SaaS a couple of months ago at a small company called Yotpo.
Very tiny guy, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with the dark side, straight up. Let's just start there, okay? Yeah. I just want to say that sometimes in your career, you switch back and forth between B2B and B2C. My career, for anybody who doesn't know this, yes, predominantly has been in e-commerce. I've worked at festivals. I've done a lot of fractional roles with some really dope brands, Taste Salud, Taste Salud and Fat Milk, and very like fun CBG companies. But my background is actually from B2B. I used to be in SaaS, and now I'm also back in SaaS as well. I am the VP of content marketing and advocacy at Customer with a K, right? So point is, right, you switch back and forth and there's nothing wrong with it. So let's just start there. You don't have to tell me like the things that happen, but like how has that transition been from you to go from B2C to B2B, especially in e-com enablement?
It's been interesting. So my entire career started by me needing a job very badly. I was dating my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and she was double majoring and I had no education. I was just like, I'm an absolute loser. I should find something to do. And the first job I found was in e-com. And the first job I found was in customer service. And it ended up being 15 other parts of the business. But I started in e-com because that's where my career started. That's what I fell into. I was always excited about the convergence of CX and retention. I think the most interesting thing, and you're catching me on a good day here, is like the most interesting thing is kind of this idea that on the brand side, everyone's so nice and respectful, and you think that everyone in this industry is like friends with you because you're working at a cool brand, and then one day you switch your Twitter profile and all of a sudden you enter a very, very different ecosystem of kind of like this sharky, crazy, chaotic B2B world. I think what's interesting to me is I've always been a person that just because something is some way doesn't mean you can't change that. Most of the, I have not shut up about CX and how low the bar is since I started in this industry. And we've made, like, you and I and everyone else in this industry has made so much change in CX, and like D2C brands that didn't give a shit about it 6 months ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago now care. And jumping into SaaS, I was like, wow, people are rude. And somebody's like, yeah, dude, like, welcome. Yeah. And I'm like, sir, just because you've been in this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years doesn't mean it's going to be like this for the next 20. Yeah. And that's been my biggest challenge is like, how can we just be kinder to one another? Yeah. Like there's enough business for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's like, if I had to think about my next 12 months, it's like, yes, super focused on Yotpo, how we build a fantastic perception around the future and what we're trying to build, but also how can we make this a kinder place for everyone, not just for brands, but for providers. Like, we're providing e-com SaaS enablement for businesses. If they don't like it, they don't have to be a customer. If they do, we'll make it a great place to be. So I'm like a weird breath of fresh air that everyone wants to spit out.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts there. I mean, I think the biggest thing is like, okay, so I said like I've been in B2B and then I came to B2C and then like I'm back to B2B, but I'm still in B2C. Like, honestly, I'm like all over the place. I still maintain operator for e-com brands. I'm still doing like these things for customer. But my point is though, is like, there's nothing wrong as CX leaders for us to flip back and forth. There's like absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I think that, and I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think that we're like, we want to make the space a bit safer and, less assholes, like all this stuff because we're CX leaders and like we're empathetic? And that's like
it's possible. I mean, I think something that comes up over and over and over is, when I started in the space, which is like 9-10 years ago, D2C Twitter was just growth guys. And it was just growth guys. And I think we still suffer tremendously as an industry of not enough diversity. Tremendously.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Absolutely. They're like, you do not know how many events that I go to that is just predominantly men and not enough people of color, not enough women at them. Like, I went to a dinner last night that was literally 98% men and 2% women. And I was part of that 2%.
This breeds this chaotic, insane behavior of, we see misogynistic, outlandish behavior, which is basically this idea that this started as a frat house of a bunch of dudes running growth marketing. And I think in order for us, yes, it has to do with, I'm a softie. I like when people are nice, like sue me. Like I like when people are nice to me. And it's like, oh, you're not rah-rah enough. What, to sell SMS software? Like, we're just slinging SaaS. We're just trying to help brands. Like, I've been on the brand side. I'm trying to help brands like myself, like people like myself. I'm trying to help you market better. I'm trying to help you retain your customers better. You don't have to like the tool, but you do have to be nice. Yeah. And I can't force you to, but I think the wider we make this tent, the more alternative voices we bring in. Yeah. The more diverse the events we create are. Yeah. The one dinner I ever hosted, I was like, I'm not coming to this dinner unless we have 50+% women. Like, and yes, we can do a lot better. But I think, yes, it has to do with the fact that we're CX, but it's also the DNA of a lot of this industry has to change meaningfully over the next.
No, absolutely. And I think, and to be honest with you, I don't think it's just us. I think it's us voicing this and actually talking about these things so we can make that change, right? Like, I'm doubling down this year on more women's events. Like, I'm going to be hosting a women's event with Nicole from Recharge and Dylan Yotpo, right? That's going to be enabling women in the commerce space, whether you're B2B or B2C, it doesn't matter, right? And I think that not just like women doing this, we also need more men to do this for women and to show up for us. When there's something that's nasty on the internet, on a Twitter thread and somebody's newsletter, more men need to show up to the plate for us.
I fully agree. On the first part, please, I know you're already working with Dylan, who's fantastic, but Eli on the Yotpo side, like we all share the same vision around creating events that are different and more meaningful in a lot of different ways. So we'll talk afterwards about like how can we do more of this together, because we're on the same page here. Is like we've seen the same thing over and over and over. And if we want to shift culturally, there's a lot of change that has to happen. But 6 weeks in, I'm questioning daily. I'm like, am I a moron, or are people really obnoxious for no reason?
No. So, I mean, dude, absolutely. Like, the last point I'll make for the audience, and we'll transition to more like CX and retention things. But Eli and I right now are on a little bit of our crusade. The last thing that I will say is, like, I've also experienced that, not even just like across B2B, like multiple companies I have experienced where salespeople or people internally, they like are slanging the product itself, but they don't actually understand what the customer needs. And like, that's the point of these advocacy roles. That's the point of the roles that Eli and I are doing within customer and Yotpo, is not only for the external outfacing of understanding like, hey, this tool is really dope and like you really should use it, and gassing up like the companies that we work for, but also for advocacy within the company itself. Because in order to sell your product, it doesn't matter if you're an SMS tool, a CRM tool, or I don't know, man, like a pop-up tool, right? Your core of your problem, it should always be what the customer wants and needs. So if you're selling something, if you're in the customer success side, you're supporting it, you, yes, need to protect the company, but you also need to understand that you are enabling your customer to do better. So what does my customer ultimately want all the time? And like, and again, the purpose of us on our crusade for multiple different things, women, like more diversity, but also at the core of it all, it's for customers and that tool to sling to that customer in a more meaningful way.
The last two things I'll say on this is, number one, a lot of this chaos started because SaaS companies were competing against the same 10 customers, but instead of talking about the customer's problem, they were talking about, here's why X sucks. And they were taking a shit on other companies.
Yeah.
And part of my motivation here and yours as well is, how can we shift to, again, to your point, talk more about customers, and that will create a space where we're not taking a shit on other providers. We're saying, here's why Yotpo can help solve your problems. If you want to go with SendLane, PostScript, Attentive,
great.
Totally fine. Yeah. Totally fine. By shifting sales that way, we're creating a space that's more meaningful for, there are certain customers that are great for you, certain that are best for us. There's enough. Like, let's think about this in a wider, more, what's the word for it? In a like more wider way where we understand that there's enough for everyone. And I think that's probably phase one of like, how can we be more kind to one another? Yeah. And we can compete, but we're both competing in a way that we want customers to have a better relationship with their customers.
Right. No, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, absolutely. And yeah, so as much as like these tools are enabling for your customer or for whatever your mission is for the company, also there has to be a piece of the enablement internally and the advocacy for the customer. Hence why our roles have come up in the space. And the last point, which actually will lead me to my next piece of this, is it's all about community building that we're doing here too. So it's not just about like, okay, we're going to go and like do these events or we're going to do these things. It's also community building internally. It's at events, it's at conferences, it's at like digital spaces. And one of the things that I want to get to is, Eli, you started a Discord, a CX Discord that has how many members now?
A bunch, right?
A bunch. It's over 1,000. I'm a moderator in it.
1,300, right? 1,200?
Yeah, it's got to be, right? But the cool thing about this Discord in particular is one of the things that like Eli and I met a long time ago, and we like had a conversation. We were like, there's no space for like D2C people, right? And then he decided to like build this Discord, and now it has like 1,200 plus. I'm a moderator in it. But the cool thing about this is that there is B2B and B2C in this community, and everybody's solving problems together, right? And I think that that's really cool. Like that's the beginning of like building community amongst everybody.
So to your point, like the beauty of moderation, and there's a lot of noise around, how it's a public square, you can say whatever you want. Yes, but not in our Discord.
Yeah.
And we try very hard. Again, I'm a softie. I like having places that everyone feels safe in. And it was really important, the few rules that we set up when we created this Discord, like I literally just went on Discord. I'm like, start Discord, never done this, but okay. Reached out to a couple of people like, and said, hey, can you hop in as help me moderate this and build this? And all of a sudden, again, it's like 1,200 CX leaders and then CX kind of like adjacent B2B, et cetera. And the few rules were, number one, no slinging. We're not here to sell, we're here to help. Again, like if your tool solves a perfect problem, that's okay, but no slinging. And number two, be kind. Like we don't allow assholes. And I think that set up a framework, and like bringing in good people and bringing in nice people. And the amount of jobs that I've helped, and I'm sure you've helped people find through this Discord alone, like we have a job board, we've probably placed like 20 or 30 CX leaders at fantastic companies, Brightland, like some of these like incredible Momofuku, like these incredible brands that we're able to place people from this Discord, but also a space where like, I created this because I hate leaving my house. I wanted to create a network without ever leaving my house. And it's like, how do I make a space where people know who I am? And I'll create more opportunity for myself and for everyone else without having to go to events every night. And it did turn into like, we went axe throwing.
Oh yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's
shout out to Customer and Flip CX,
right?
And Pod Pitch and Sienna.
So it's been meaningful, right? To like be able to do this IRL too. But, creating a space with like intentionality and kindness is taken for granted, but is super meaningful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, okay, let's switch gears. Let's talk about CX and retention. So in particular with this Discord, right? Like there's so many individuals on this. There's so many like tools. There's so many brands. And I'm curious from you, have you like bringing in these individuals into this space and building it as much and like in being like a CX and retention guru, have you individually learned anything that has changed your retention strategy from like what stands out to you from any of those individuals in the Discord?
Yeah. Well, first of all, very kind. I don't feel like a guru at all. I feel like I've learned more in the last 10 years than most. I think that something that I've been challenged a lot in my career is imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm a one-trick pony. Like, oh, you've only done X or you can only do Y, which kind of got me to this quarter life crisis of jumping into a different, completely tearing down everything I've built and starting again some would argue otherwise, but theoretically. And something I've learned over the last 10 years is how shockingly it's whatever industry you're in, it's always the same, right? It's always like deeply understand who your customers are, mission number one. Mission number two, deeply understand what motivates them, what they're excited about. Mission number three is try to solve problems. Yeah. I think most brands, especially founders, like I find that most founders I talk to have a giant ego, and maybe you need that in order to create a large brand. But they feel so strongly about like, no, I'm solving this problem. And then you're like, oh, wait, are you sure that's a problem? And they're like, well, we have product market fit. Okay, but cool. But do people understand the problem the same way you do? Or are they just feeling like this solves a different problem that you don't completely get? So I've learned that is that like it takes humility and it takes talking to customers, creating a space where customers can actually provide feedback, and that it's not much different. Like whether you're in, like we have people on the Discord that are selling like, grass seed, and people that are selling like auto parts, and people that are in food and beverage, and people that are slinging SaaS.
Yeah.
And we're all solving the same problem. We're all like trying to understand their customers' values, needs, and solving it, which sounds very elementary, but I guess I'm not a guru. You see him learn.
You are a guru.
Thank you.
Listen, you are a guru. And I think that, I've personally have learned a lot from you. Like me switching from B2B into B2C, like you were literally my mentor. You were the first like Nick Sharma introed me to you, and I was such a huge fan of like your work, right? And even though I might have like years of experience already, I didn't have B2C experience, and I think it was really important for me to like learn specifically in B2C. I do, and so like you are a guru. I think that like thank you for being a mentor to me and me being like a mentee to you. But I think you make a very valid point. At the end of the day, with like when you look at customer experience and you look at retention, right? The strategies all differ by the audience because your customer is like a different customer, might have different needs, might have different wants, but the core of everything that you're doing is you have your pillars, and it's all the same. It's all the same, whether you're on the B2B side or the B2C side, right? Whether it's like, let's just use a B2B to B2C, right? B2B is very focused on what is that user's journey, where is the friction in that journey, and how do I get this user to adopt my product without friction, right? And then if you look at B2C, it's the same thing in a way, right? Like, yes, I might have this product and I have this beautiful like brand logo on it, colors, like whatever it is, right? That is a user journey. If somebody picking up, I'm like, pretend this is a cup, okay? Like if I'm looking at this cup and I'm saying like, oh, this cup is really beautiful. It has this very like particular things in a part of this cup. That is a journey within that product, right? And then you take it to the website. Okay, how do you build brand loyalty? A website has a user's journey, has an entire experience between the awareness to making the purchase to in the checkout and then post-purchase. These are all user journeys that are also very similar to B2B. So my point is, right, B2B, B2C, no matter what kind of customer experience or retention plan that you're looking at, your pillars are all the same. It just differs by the audience. And I think what's really important, going back to the mentor-mentee space, is that we don't all have the answers. We don't all have the answers. And I think that we really, no matter which space you're on, you should be looking outside of yourself and looking at other brands and like, oh, that's a really dope experience. Okay, maybe I can incorporate that something into my brand experience. Or maybe it's even like Postscript, for instance, has a really awesome customer service and success program. They're really good at being brand strategists alongside you. They are B2B a B2B to B2C company, right? Or I'm sorry, a e-com enablement company, right? But their customer experience journey is very service oriented, very much being a strategist. Why couldn't you apply being a strategist to your, I don't know, soda brand, right? Like you can apply those principles into your sport. My point is that it's never like we all have our different strategies. We all have our different retention plans as well. But like at the core of it, our customers are all the same. And there's no necessarily like copying of one another. It's just let's all be kind to each other and learn from each other. That is my point. I landed the plane on my tangent. I don't know. What do you think, Eli?
No, I think that we just have to be really, really clear that we start with the customer. Yeah. We start with understanding the customer's problems, and we try to build solutions in a meaningful way. And the best experience / product / what have you will win. And that's that. And I think that's like across every industry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one question that I have for you though. So beyond birthdays and the obvious ways of surprising and delighting your customer and like, you know, giving like retaining them in those like manners, what do you think are unique ways to leverage data in personalizing your customer experience? Because now we're on the B2B, so we gotta be talking about data.
Yeah. I mean, I love the question, and something that I've been talking about for a while. I remember being asked this in maybe 2020 on a podcast. It was like, what is the next $1 billion idea? I think it was Caitlin on the Customer Whisperer. It was like, what's the next $1 billion idea in e-commerce? And I think it's this exact idea that we have so much customer data, but we do nothing with it. Mm-hmm. Like birthdays is like, oh, we're asking you your birthday. We're sending you something cute. But what's more meaningful than that is understanding every move the customer made. Something that we see SaaS do well on like ABM, for the SaaS folks is like, you know, like we know exactly which landing page they hit and like if they took a demo, if they didn't take a demo, and we're so meticulous about walking customers through this funnel. And I think from a D2C perspective, we have so much data. So for example, we know if the customer left a positive review or a negative review. We know if they're tier X on the loyalty program. We know if they're subscribed to email SMS. We know what they've purchased in the past. We know if they're subscribed to a product with your subscription. So like we have all these data points on their behavior, but we also, if we use Octane or whatever survey, we understand so many data points about the customer, both from behavior and from what they like and dislike. And then even double clicking into that, we know what emails they opened. We know what they clicked. Right, so we have such a detailed buyer journey. We do nothing with it. Most brands just don't scratch the surface. No. The biggest problem, right, and this is not a long-winded Yotpo pitch, but this is how I ended up at Yotpo. The biggest problem is that there's no meaningful way to accelerate usage on that data. Right, yeah. There's no meaningful way where you can say like, okay, you can create 900 segments and you can create custom properties in Klaviyo that pull from all different places. But to be able to have all that thing in one place and talk to AI and say, hey, sending this campaign, it's about our new soda that's launching next week. Give me an idea of the 10 most meaningful segments and go as detailed as you possibly can. Imagine querying that data with like a ChatGPT and overlay and saying like, make the 10 most meaningful segments. I don't want to send to more than 10,000 people. I want you to get to the 10,000 people that you think will make the purchase next. And that is basically saying like, skip 900 of the emails you would have sent and just send 100 that are to the perfect customer with the right message at the right time. That is every retention person / customer experience person's dream. And there's zero way to do that today because A, you don't have all the data in one place. B, you don't have an overlay that can do that for you. I think this is my very long-winded reason as to why I ended up on the SaaS side, because I think this is the biggest opportunity in e-com, but it's also a reason why people spend way too much money on SMS, right? So email, it's like, whether you're paying for the list or you're paying for whatever, like you're not really paying per email you send most of the time with most providers. With some you do, some you don't. But with SMS, there's not a single provider. You're not paying per SMS. And imagine I told you, you can send 10% of the messages and make the same revenue because we know who's going to click and purchase.
Yeah. And so this is the Yotpo tool. Like, are they utilizing like AI for this?
So this is the current / 6 to 12 months of Yotpo. Whereas like, yes, they have Tailor, which is like AI querying, when you build segmentation on email SMS, the Tailor is you're going to see it across multiple different portions of the Yotpo experience. But I think also the overlay of like having one place that you can query all the data. So it's currently a retention dashboard. It'll continue to be this retention platform where you can query all the data. And again, it's like everything else here is noise. You can choose whoever you want to sling. It's just SMS. It doesn't matter. You can use whoever you want for email. I don't care.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank, almost nobody cares. Who you like, your providers on tech doesn't say anything about you.
Yeah.
My goal and Yotpo's goal, and I'm speaking for myself here, so I'll remove the Yotpo's goal. My goal is to create the most incredible, seamless experience for retention operators to be able to sling the correct messages to the right person and deeply understand action before the customer even knows their action.
Yeah.
So that it feels, imagine you walk into a store and they're like, Jess, not to be really, really weird, but I know exactly what you want today. So let me just take you there.
Yeah.
And not have to drive you through 500 different emails, cross-selling every tool in the universe. Something we've done very basic at Jones was we said, we know that if you purchase X, with like an 80-something% likelihood, you're probably going to purchase Y. So why send you through 900 emails? Let's just take you exactly where we know you're probably going to go.
Yeah.
Imagine that at scale.
Yeah.
And again, I'd love for everyone to build this.
Yeah.
This is not like this is what I believe is the future of retention.
Yeah.
And I like that world.
Yeah.
I like, and Google's telling us, you're kind of going in that direction with the changes. Yahoo's saying like, we're over spamming. Get a couple of unsubs and you're on the shit list. And as email marketers, we're still like, no, full send, sling.
I hate the full send. Like, stop full sending. Hot take, my friends, just to reiterate in my own words, right? It's the same hot take. I'm going to be honest with you. Segment your audience. For the love of God, please segment your audience. Stop spamming every email person. Stop spamming every SMS person. Save yourself some money. Save your customer experience, because if you're continuously spamming the same people, they will unsubscribe. That's my hot take. Leading to this, actually, what's really interesting about Eli mentioning this this personalization is this is a very much a hot take from you, because a couple of years ago, you were not about the AI life. You were not about the AI life. It was like very scary. And I think we can jointly say this now, right? AI is not coming for your fucking job. AI is not coming for your fucking job. AI is going to make your life easier. And if we need to get to a level of personalization and continuously personalizing your user's experience so that they can like want to keep purchasing your product, adopt your features, whatever it is, we need to embrace it and utilize it for our retention plans, our customer experience plans, customer success, sales plans, whatever plans it is, we need to utilize that personalization, because you cannot scale without the ability of utilizing tech and tools to do so.
100%. I'm going to sit here today and say that I'm always excited and willing and able to be proven wrong on almost everything, as you know. And AI is one of the many things that Eli has been completely wrong on some of the aspects of. And I think that, to your point, like, I dream about, this sounds kind of outrageous, me dreaming about a day in time or a vision, but basically the beauty of e-com when it comes to messaging is imagine Wayfair didn't send you 30 emails.
Yes.
But they just told you exactly what you
Campari.
wanted, right? But imagine getting an email about like, we know that you bought this table.
Mm-hmm.
People that bought this table bought one of these 3 chairs with a 96% accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Just save me all the time. But no, we want to send you 400 different emails because we hope that you'll buy other things. Now, even though the data is telling us otherwise, the data is saying like there's less than 1% chance that you're going to buy all the random shit thrown your way. I think that would be like a fun future for e-com. And again, it would be a fun future for tools as well, because now they can create an ecosystem where the tools give a higher ROI with a lower cost.
Your CX is so great. That phrase is so last season at this point, because at Customer, we believe in delivering incredible customer experiences. Introducing KIQ Agent Assist, the ultimate CX team AI sidekick built on our CRM to give agents superhero capabilities and efficiency. When building KIQ Agent Assist, we had goals: get rid of long customer wait times and increase the speed of customer resolution. Provide the CS team with real-time data for personalized prompts, delegate mundane tasks for AI, and free up your agents. But we didn't stop there. We wanted to deliver more. Check out KIQ Agent Assist amazing features, the suggested responses, the automatic two-way translation in 53 languages, and conversation summaries. Upgrade your customer experience with KIQ Agent Assist. Try it today and see the difference. Customer delivering incredible CX every time.
I actually have a couple of questions in regards to like AI, but I want to ask you this one first. So we're talking a lot about like data, and we're talking a lot about like scaling and like, okay, you have all this information, but what if you're a brand that, or even a company, like a SaaS company that's just starting out, like you're bootstrapped, or maybe you're just like in seed stages, like whatever, and you don't have a lot of data about your customer. Where do you see, not just in email marketing, but where do you see AI being utilized in the awareness piece of it?
I'm probably the least poised to answer this question in a meaningful way.
It's fine. We're just talking.
So I might skip.
It's like literally just came up.
I might skip. I honestly don't know. I'm curious your point of view.
Yeah. I would love to see AI. Well, one of the places that I've used it, and this is my next question for you. One of the places that I've utilized AI is actually in like sentiment analysis on social channels, but less on the awareness piece. Right. So I am really interested to see like what the transitions will be. Like we don't have the answers for this, straight up. We don't have the answers for this, but I'm interested to see what like the transitions will be like. Okay, well, we're talking about personalization, your customer's experience and retention and all of these things, but where will AI come into play in the awareness and acquisition piece and like social specifically, right? Like how do you bridge the gap between social channels into your website or wherever it is that you want your journey to be, or in your list, right? Like I haven't seen a lot of innovation in that. And like, I'm really interested to see like how that, what I have seen is like bots on social channels of like comment, I don't know, exercise. And then like that influencer is like sending you a plan. I think that's really interesting, but I guess in my perfect world, I would like to see some sort of AI, like doing some sort of like bot situation and building into lists.
I think that's smart. I think it's I think AI is an interesting way to scale something that already works, right? Like the comment exercise and get whatever, create your own plan. Like that's super interesting. I think that we've viewed AI as like either to help one problem or help a different problem. And to your point, like we haven't created a cohesive, like here's how AI can help a customer go through their entire journey with you as a brand. In general, I'm very bullish on AI or tools that can kind of connect dots.
Yeah.
I think the customer journey now is so siloed and broken that I think it's almost like I dream about hand holding. Like I just want like the Wonderman / Maloma post-purchase and then connect that to your journey pre-purchase and the CX questions you had. And kind of, I would love a tool that can create like, I've seen a lot of things in SaaS that were like, oh, this is super interesting. I wonder what that looks like in D2C. So something that I've seen in SaaS is kind of like executive summaries where I can just grab a page and learn everything about this account. Like when they joined Yotpo, if they churned Yotpo, did they have any experiences they didn't like with us in an effort to try to better understand what people love and hate? I know what I hated about Yotpo. Like I've churned Yotpo. I know what I hated, but I'm always curious to see like, how can we make this experience better? And I was like, what about an exec summary on customers where I can just jump in and see like a AI synopsis of like, it's almost like a one paragraph, like, here's where they were, here's where they came from, here's what they loved, here's what they hated. They had 4 issues in the past. Each one was resolved in a meaningful way. If they're pissed off, this is what they'd be pissed off about. And it's almost like, yeah, you're probably now having like a CX associate jot that down and pass it along to a director. But I think that's also like a fun way. Any kind of sentiment that's detailed is fun. And then kind of take that, and we've seen a bunch of tools that you can kind of like take that and tell you en masse, like, here are the 5 things that people love or hate about your brands, like the Chattermail, the Syncly, all that stuff. But yeah, that's on the AI. Look at me talking about AI.
I know. It's really weird. Like, our conversations literally used to just be like, Olipop. Wait, we didn't even get into like your Kickstarter role. But no, I think what's really interesting about AI, so like I told you, like I wanted to get your perspective of like, you know, the social awareness pieces of it. But really, I think what's interesting is, and where I'd like to see more doubling down, is that sentiment analysis. Because like what I do a lot for like my fractional clients or like project-based like CX things that I'm doing, I build out like a really scrappy like Google Sheets or Excel doc, right? That takes like the analysis of like all of your tickets, all of your CSAT, NPS, like any sort of like surveying touch points, and like query it in like these Google Sheets, which eventually will run out, right? But the point is, though, is that where I would like to see more AI doubling down is that sentiment analysis 100%, and like an easier way to scale it, but across multiple channels. I actually posted this on LinkedIn today about churn rate and retention rate, and then getting down to like a sentiment rate. Like, we don't have, in the industry as a whole, we do not have a sentiment score. Think about it. You have a sentiment score on your channels, but you don't have a sentiment score on like one overall like customer sentiment, right?
It's like NPS, just like supercharged with a lot more,
with AI. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know? And then something that can like scrub like your Twitter feed or your LinkedIn or all these places. Because this is all the stuff I used to do at Feastables. Like, we would literally have to manually, and they still do, God bless my CX team, but they still literally go through tweet by tweet. And like, if the AI doesn't pick it up like accurately and leaves it as like neutral sentiment, then they're like manually tagging that a negative or a neutral or positive. Like, I think there's a lot of advancements that need to like still happen with it. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. I apologize. The one question I do have, since we're on this AI subject, and this is where we went, and Eli is on the AI side now. Okay, let's switch to chatbots, because this is the ultimate fucking hot take for Eli. When I met you, you fucking hated them. And I was like, let's go. Let's chatbot this. Let's automate as much as possible. Where is your stance now?
Would you hate me if it hasn't changed much?
No, kidding, but I would love to get into the discourse of it.
No, I think that AI has gotten better. I think that GPT, whatever, wherever we're up to, for
you know, I call it Chat GBT sometimes.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of people that call it that, and I stopped fixing it because I'm like, it's not going to keep me up at night. But I think it's gotten meaningfully better. I think the other important thing that's changed is the ingesting of much more data more quickly. So it's not just answering based on this one conversation. It's answering based on the way that you've answered historical, but also on the 500 or 5,000 other conversations that have come through. And we've seen like CX tools or chatbot tools that ingest much wider groups of information, which I think it just makes for a better experience. I'm ultimately about whatever is the more meaningful and scalable, thoughtful experience. And I think AI has come a long way. That's like my politically charged answer here. Right?
Well, I mean, my opinion is that I think
fucking rock.
I love AI. I love chatbots. Which I I do. Okay.
Yeah.
I've dealt with mass scale amount of tickets that were literally, I love Mr. Beast. And like, you want to engage with those conversations, but it's like, how do you engage with those conversations? It is so tough. Right. And like, I need to keep my agents free and clear so they can actually do something in the humanized experience. Right.
I saw Jess wearing a t-shirt the other day that said, I love chatbot.
I love chatbot and I love customers chatbot.
Yeah.
So, okay, the portion of this, though, the hot take of it, is that I think what we have seen with chatbots previously is that they're very intent-based. Choose X to get to X information, but not action-based, right? And I think that's where like the advancements truly will be. I don't think it's coming for your customer support agent's job. Straight up, I don't think it's coming for your support agent's jobs because you're still going to need to humanize that experience no matter what. Like I think that it can get to a point of actioning very like tier 1 stuff. Like for instance, like a case study that I was reading about is customer with Sweetgreen. When Sweetgreen's app came out, God bless my friend Jen for running the CX team at Sweetgreen. When their app came out, they were getting a lot of cancellation requests, right? And so what happened was customer helped develop out a workflow utilizing chatbots, AI to go through the conversations and take action on the cancellations. Those are very tier 1 things, right? That then allowed the Sweetgreen team to have the availability to handle like truly humanized experiences, right? Like things that like they need help with. So I think one, AI and chatbots is not going to come for the support agents' jobs. I think if anything, and this will lead to my next question, if anything, it will allow your support agents to have more time to deliver a humanized experience, but also the availability to level themselves up in other skills that pertain to retention or leveling themselves up in like customer experience. And so, maybe it's going through a list or availability of people who've purchased 3 different times for your product, but maybe should be converted to a subscriber, right? Like things like that. Like I think it just allows your agents to be able to do like very like top level stuff. So my question to you, switching gears very much away from AI, is what is your hot take on CX leadership and leveling up CX agents to work their way into retention roles?
I think that something that I've thought about a lot in the last 2 years, I've always like been involved in the retention side of the business. Jones was the first job I had that was meaningfully like directing both parts of the business. And something that I've learned is that it is 2 sides of the brain. Like CX is a more creative, empathetic side of the brain. Retention is a lot of data. So I think it takes a different part of the brain to do both. I think that we very often combine the two recently, but I think it was really challenging for me at Jones. Like my honest take here is it was challenging. I think it's a very, especially at a business that was growing that fast. My completely brutally honest take is that it was very challenging. I think it's, I'm lucky that Joanne, who's leading retention at Jones, was an incredible operator that deeply understood retention, but also deeply understood what great experience looks like. So I think that's like, to run retention, you need to have, in my opinion, a better leg up on the data and analyzation, meaning you're better off as a retention operator with a dash of CX than you are at CX with a dash of retention.
Yeah.
I think you need to be able to either have that data analysis or upskill quickly. Frankly, I was unable to upskill fast enough on the retention side to get where they needed to get, or I didn't feel like I was able to upskill fast enough. So I think that that's the only challenge. But if you find somebody, the flip side of that is like most of CX is just like, oh, if you're entry level and you don't find the job, you try to get a job in CX because it feels entry level. So there's a lot of that also, which is like, as much as we want to shift the paradigm, it's still somewhat there. So if we find people that generally lean towards data and analyzation and deeply understanding cohorts, I hope for a time that you won't have to be that savvy in order to run a retention program. But I think today you you really need to be a whiz at cohorting and segment analysis. So if you have that, and then you also have a retention, a CX mind, that's like the best in class programs have a wizard on retention that completely gets and sits very close to CX.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also retention isn't always the dream for every CXer.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Like some people, like I've led teams where some people were like, yeah, all right, they've moved into like retention marketing or lifecycle marketing like I did. I moved into those places because like I love marketing, right? But I have also had individuals under me who really more so just want to be a leader in the support side of things, or they want to move to the community management side of things. So I think that CX and retention, yes, are one and the same. Like they're constantly being put under like one and the same lately. But I also think that like not every CX team is a retention team.
Correct.
And you need to really understand like, okay, is that leader or those individuals, do they have that passion for segmenting and cohorting and like marketing brain, or do they have that passion for the empathy and community building brain? And those are two different pathways. Yep. That's my point.
Yep.
Okay, last couple of questions, my dude. We're going to spend a whole 15 minutes on this.
I'm excited.
Because we talk a lot.
Yeah, all the hard questions.
They're not really hard, I promise.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Okay. Do you think that the retention and CX playbook is ever fully solved?
I mean, I think it's a very, very quickly evolving space, especially on CX and retention. I mean, generally, e-com changes quickly, but CX and retention consistently is shifting. I think the playbook hasn't been changed in the last like 50, 60 years until like e-com 2.0 or D2C 2.0, which is like when we realized that like sustainable growth is important and retention is important. And that shifted budget towards CX because CX and retention, like in order to retain a customer, you need a great experience. I don't think it's going to evolve that quickly, or not that quickly, that meaningfully. Like I don't think it'll completely shift like it did in the last couple of years, but I think it continues to evolve. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that's a kind of a trick question because like this is basically what we're talking about, but I think that people really get stagnant in thinking about it. So if you learn nothing, learn that like
stay on your toes.
Always stay on your phone.
The robots are coming for you.
They're coming. They're taking your job specifically. Okay. For you, like you have your newsletter, you obviously had like Down to Chat podcast, you like are always on like content and like doing a lot of fun things. But what type of content do you personally consume?
I love, so I have a problem that I struggle to listen things at regular speed. And I'm not a big reader. So I'm always listening. I listen to podcasts at like 2.5 or 3 times speed. And I consume a lot of that. I love listening to like e-com podcasts. I do read a couple of newsletters. I generally feel like we've discussed at the beginning of this conversation that I try to consume things that are outside of my purview. So I deeply understood SaaS way before I started in SaaS, or I realized I didn't deeply understand it, but I knew enough to jump in.
Yeah.
And I feel similarly, like I try to deeply understand hospitality and get a good grip of what finance looks like, and I try to consume wider, but yeah, I'd say a couple of newsletters, a couple of podcasts. Now I drive to the office every once in a while, which is a good 2 hours, so I get through probably, I'm not good at math, but probably 10 hours of podcasts, and not 10 but 6.
I consume a lot more like business newsletters and like I read yours every week.
Thank you.
Ari Murray's, Daniel Murray's, the power couple,
right?
Nick's, you know, there's like quite a few like Kendall Dickinson's like newest like Nate's. Oh my God, how did I forget?
Express Checkout.
That's a really great one. But so like newsletters is where I consume. But it's interesting, podcasts, I like don't consume a lot of it. I consume about like serial, like, you know, true crime stuff, or a lot of astrology, my little Leo friend here. Yes. But like not business.
Right.
And I don't know why. Anyway, this is a random thing. Okay. These are a little bit personal, but I want to get down to the nitty gritty and I want the audience to really know who you are. You ready?
Okay.
What would you tell Eli on day one of his first ever job?
Wow.
Deep.
It'll never get easy, but it'll be slightly less challenging. Something that I realized after almost a decade in this space, I had like a quarter life crisis, and I realized that I want to shift to do something very different. And the first question I asked myself was, what did you like and dislike about what you did in the last 8 years? And then I reframed the question of, if you can choose like 3 qualities that are super meaningful, what would you choose? And I realized that the space I'm working in was not one of them. It was 3. One of them was work with people much smarter than me, feel super challenged every day, have a good time doing it. Those were the 3 most meaningful things. And I realized, like, didn't matter what space I was in, didn't matter how large the company was. All the things that people told me were a consideration. Like, are you crazy going from a 20-person company to an 800-person company? Or are you crazy going to SaaS? Like, those things didn't matter at all. But I struggled. I continue to struggle from imposter syndrome. And I would tell myself that it won't get easy, but it'll be less challenging. And I think that, to me, the biggest challenge was breaking in. So I applied to like over 100 jobs in the span of 2 years, just trying to break into the space until I got, the Nugs and Olipop job. It was really, really hard. And it was I almost gave up a bunch of times of like, this is insane. Like, I can't even get an interview. You wanted real, you got real.
No, I love that. Actually, I'm putting down this Lappy Top to like, I think that's like one of you hit on a point that I think that a lot of people, whoever, if you're junior, even exec level, it doesn't matter, like whatever level you are, like I think it's really important to like remember this one thing out of this conversation is that, so Eli, like you didn't go to college, like you started your career in CX and then worked your way through it, right? And if you hadn't like people hadn't opened the doors for you or applied for those 200 jobs and all of these things, you wouldn't be in the place that you are today, right? And every no can equal a yes at some point, right? But I think what's really important, and like our story is actually very similar to this. I went to art school, didn't know what I wanted to do, ended up in customer service jobs. And the amount of people that have told me no in my life or have kept me in like a lower level job because I was making money for the company. I was like really good at sales or all these things, right? And I would always crave that challenge, but I would be afraid, the imposter syndrome of like, yo, you're not enough or you can't do this or whatever. But sometimes you just have to push through it and take the risk to get to the next piece of it, right? And like, and I mean that individually, but I also mean that to the audience, to anybody listening. Take the chance on the person that might be the diamond in the rough, because they might make your company the dopest company possible. Their ideas might actually bring you to the next level.
2 things that come to mind is, number 1, having a chip on my shoulder is my favorite quality about myself. Like I consistently feel like I don't deserve it in a way that makes me want to work 10 times harder and take on larger challenges. Like the fact that I had so many people that I thought were like my friends saying like, you're crazy, you're risking your entire blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah, you're about to throw hands.
Literally, like what?
Number 2, like something that's been funny is like, little known fact, I applied to Yotpo in 2015. My resume was my date of birth and my name. There was not a single thing under it. There was like one half-ass job. Like it was like applying for a credit card without credit. It was like a thin file. And I think that's like something I start almost every meeting with at Yotpo. And somebody's like, what do you do here? What's your name? And I'm like, so this is my victory lap. I applied in 2015. But it's I cannot tell you, like I've saved those resumes and those cover letters because I haven't made a resume in the last like 5 years, but I've saved or 4 years, but I've saved those resumes, like the CVs, the cover letters in a folder. I also have a shit list, which is like super immature.
We both have a shit list. I'm like,
like we're so rude. And like some of them like interviewed me and then ghosted me. Some of them just never responded to my email. I have like a small shit list, which somebody reached out in the LinkedIn DMs when I was at Jones, like saying, hey, we'd love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how dare you? I applied for a CSM role in 2018 and you didn't even give me an interview. And then I was like, wow, well, that was the pettiest DM I've ever sent. But it's a very interesting concept. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about that too is like,
how childish I am.
No,
Love that.
no, I don't. We just never forget. You know what I mean? When you like work really, when you work really, really hard, and like, I mean, dude, I've had this job before. When I was in the travel industry, I worked at this company for 5 years. Okay, 5 years, and I was always kept at like an associate level.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'll tell you why. Because it was like unlimited commission, right? And I was really fucking good at my job.
Right.
And it wasn't like me slanging stuff. It was nothing like that. I was just really good at like customer service and account management, that I like would be crafty about fares, like whatever. And I would save people money, and like there was airlines could pay you commission, whatever, right? But I was really good at it. And I would always go to the President's Club. And every year there would be an assistant manager role or a team leader role up. And every year I would apply for them. And every single year, my boss would keep me in the same spot because I made that company too much money in that role. Right.
Yeah.
And like, but instead of actually like allowing me to level up and upskill myself into like management, and then training other people under me about how to be like really good with fares or whatever it is.
Short-sighted.
Exactly. Yeah. So like so what's interesting is like those scenarios have to happen to me very often. I worked in the B2B space for a really long time. Like I worked in the B2B space for a really long time. Like Feastables is actually my 5th startup that I've ever worked at, but it was my first D2C company that I've ever worked at, right? And I worked as a customer experience leader. I've done product marketing. I've done success. I've done all sorts of pieces of customer experience within the B2B space. And I kept wanting to be in like D2C and e-com, and nobody would give me a chance. Nobody would straight up give me a chance. And I remember applying for a role and getting pretty far in the interview process and then being told, well, you don't have any D2C experience, so this is actually why we're not hiring you. Which, okay, whatever. I understand it. I'm not mad about that piece of it, right? But my point is I applied for so many of these roles constantly, and never would get them. But funny enough, my first D2C role was working at Feastables. And had I never moved to Chicago, I never would have met our previous CEO, Jim Murray. Shout out to you. Talked to you yesterday. You're an awesome person. But he took a chance on me because of my B2B career. And then I like built this dope customer experience across support, community, and digital experience, and took so much of that B2B learning of user journeys into the space. And I worked for like one of the biggest e-com creator brands, right? And I mean, like, I'm not like, this is not me chipping 100%. On my shoulder, but that's my point is like, sometimes you got to like get up and like people are going to fucking tell you no, constantly tell you no, right? And then sometimes you just got to like get up and keep trying, because now I'm on my own victory lap, right?
As you should.
I B2B, B2C, I would like do fractional for like a lot of really like some of your favorite brands. I'm like doing a lot of fun stuff for them. And now I'm back into B2B again, revving up customer and to like deliver dope customer experience, right? It's like full fucking circle.
Hi friends, just wanted to take a quick second to tell you about customers' friends, orderprotection.com. Orderprotection.com's mission is to reduce customer experience costs for brands while enhancing the consumer's experience. They automate reshipments and refunds for brands entirely covered by Order Protection. They also provide a super convenient claim filing service through a white-labeled claims portal that submits a customer's claim in a matter of just a few clicks, where their team is standing by to resolve the claim in a matter of minutes. Our advice: use Order Protection for your order protecting needs. Now back to the show.
We are going to wrap this up. I have one last final question, and like doesn't have to be long. But Eli, what is your best customer experience you've ever had from a SaaS company or a D2C company?
I will say that's a good question. I will say some of the best. I can't this is pretty sad that I can't think of any great experiences I've had, period. I mean, some of the SaaS providers that we've worked with in the past, just so thoughtful around experience, which like I've been inspired by people like the team at Postscript about how thoughtful they were around experience. They were one of the people that I've worked so closely with. Shout out to Beller and shout out to Mike. I mean, these are people that inspired me to be more thoughtful around CS and experience and strategy. And outside of that, I'd say that on the brand side, brands like ShopUp, which is owned by Amazon, it's like they've just, something's missing, something's delayed in transit, no worries at all, we'll send you a new one. I think that like the bar is so low, which is like disappointing and depressing, but that's where the bar is like if something's lost in transit, like, will you make me, shout out off Fifth. It's been 3 weeks, something's lost in transit, and they're still like filing a claim for me. And I think that's like the reason why I will shop over and over and over with ShopUp, or like a Mr. Porter, or like people that take experience seriously. And I'll probably avoid like Essence and Off Fifth and all the kind of like, oh, who knows when it'll ship to you. And I think we've often like, those are marketplaces. So we've often said like, okay, who cares if like Kith makes you wait 5 days to give you tracking? Like, who cares that like ALD might have an awful return policy? Because like they're a streetwear brand and everyone loves them. And it's like, yes, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of true. Is like people will continue to purchase from a brand if you can only buy it from them directly. But you buying it, you still don't feel great about the company. You feel good about yourself, and you want to show other people that you're a hype beast, right? Yeah. So I think it's like the relationship you have with a brand over time, meaning like when a brand like Kith is less cool, are you still riding that Kith train, or are you on to the next one? And I think that's where loyalty is confusing for brands more than it is for consumers. Is like, if you want to wear something that's cool, you're wearing something that's cool. But if they developed a real brand relationship, like think about the brands that have lasted a really, really long time, it's because they developed a real thoughtful relationship. Now, will a loyalty program help you? Probably not, unless your experience is great. So I think that's, to me, something I've been thinking about a lot lately is some of these like hypey streetwear brands that they had the ride of a lifetime for the last 5 years, 10 years. When they become uncool, people start thinking like, was the experience that great? Is the clothing quality that great? And I think that's like the long-term play that not enough people are playing, right? So you made more money because you charge $10 for every order, whether it's $10 or $500. Like, you don't offer free shipping, so you make more margin in every order. Yes, your return policy is like, we'll give you a gift card. We're never going to give you your cash back, even if the size doesn't fit you and you bought one specific thing. Like I can think of like 20 or 30 kind of like obnoxious or strange kind of like quirky streetwear brands phenomenons. But when you focus on experience, which is one of the reasons why I loved Matt Happy over the last couple of years, is because they put a staunch focus on experience and on like, yeah, they still charge what they charge, but they have a return policy that's functional. They actually have a great team. Shout out to their CX team that's like incredible. They think about returns. They think about free shipping. They think about like, that you don't have to offer a discount to be a brand that puts experience first. Yeah. That was the most long-winded answer. No,
I get it. It was a really good one. Yeah. Because it actually wraps up with this like perfectly. It's ultimately about the user journey in your brand and your company that keeps people coming back and keeps people even talking about you, whether you're a hype company or not. If you have a dope experience, people are going to continuously come back to you, and that's what they're loyal about.
Love it.
All right, Eli, I love you so much. Thanks for being my bestie.
Too. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Where can the audience find you?
So it's Eli Weiss with an extra S on Twitter. So ELIWEISSS. Eli Weiss on LinkedIn. My newsletter is eliweiss with an extra S.com. And I'm super introverted. So if you reach out to me with a long, nice message and I just say thank you so much, and you say, can we hop on a call? And I say thank you so much. It's not because I didn't understand, it's because I hate hopping on calls because I'm introverted. But
he's a very introverted person, but the best CX retention person you know in the space.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us on The Juice.
Juice with Jess.
The Juice with Jess. Hey, wow, you made it to the end of the episode. That means that you like me and I like you, which also means you should subscribe to this show.